poverty comes with a mentality. The sad part about poverty, you can go to any area in the world, any culture. Watch this, any culture. If I take you to the India and I take you to the slums, you're gonna have the same mentality as you have anywhere else in poverty. You're gonna have high violence, would you agree? If I take you to India, Spain, anywhere, and take you to their hoods, you're not gonna have the same things going on? Same problems? Same, right? That's what we don't talk about. It's the mentality of the poverty that creates problems. Poverty equals aggression. Poverty equals frustration. Poverty equals anger. There's no color on poverty. Poverty is a mindset because there are people who live in bad situations who already have planned their escape. But it's the people that live in poverty who are comfortable living in poverty, so they dress it up to look like they're not in poverty. That's the problem.
Welcome to the Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast, starring Q the Boss.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome back to another episode of Don't Let That Go Over Your Head podcast. They call me Q the Boss. Listen, today's episode is no one is coming to save you. Yo, we're in a culture where people are really looking for things from the universe that they don't even put out in the universe. We're in a culture of people who plan on eating from gardens they never planted. We're in a culture of people who expect to be rich when they waste a lot of money. We're in a culture of people who do not, and I say this with confidence, who do not behave accordingly for success. It's like going to a job interview in streetwear and expecting to get the job. When you go into the world, you're auditioning for the part of the world that you want. Every time you step outside, you have to be mindful that you're auditioning for the role that you want. There are a lot of people who say that they want certain levels of success, but they audition improperly and inappropriate to the event that they're attending. When you're attending the event called success, you have to be mindful of how success looks. You got to be mindful of how success acts. There are people who are so conditioned to believing that they can go into rooms and redirect the whole room with behaviors because we want to go into rooms that we can't fit with bad luggage, and then we wonder why we don't get through these rooms. You're not going to get into a room when you don't behave accordingly to the room. No one is coming to save you. I don't know why people really sit down every day waiting for someone to give them something that they don't owe them. In most cases, you have exactly what you asked for and what you've done. There are a lot of people who want to be the main character, but they're not even good at being role players. There are a lot of people who want to be the main character, but they're not good at being role players. When you look at it, there's 12 months in a year. There are 365 days in a year. There are 7 days a week. There are 24 hours in a day, and there are 6 seconds in a minute. Let's break down that in hours in a day. You may sleep 8 hours a day. You may also work 8 hours a day. That leaves you with 8 hours. In between sleeping and working, and let's just say hypothetically you commute for an hour. You eat lunch for an hour. This leaves you with 5 free hours in a day for your children and your family. What I'm trying to point out is everyone has the same amount of time. Don't waste your time, right? Precious. And a lot of us do that. No one is special. Listen, stop. Listen, I think that's what social media has created, that so many people believe that they're special. I think no one is special. I think people do better things than others, and they ultimately get better results. Some people make better decisions than others, and they ultimately get better results. I realize that the people who make poor decisions get mad at the people that make proper decisions, and then they get upset that they get better results. Of course, you're climbing better when you came to the mountain with the right gear to climb it. You can't climb a mountain if you're not coming with the right gear to climb the mountain, right? Let's establish no one is special. I believe that everyone is ultimately born with some level of a gift. Some people are gifted musicians, some are gifted athletes, some possess extremely mental toughness, some possess photographic memory. They're all gifts, but gifts are given from God. What makes you special is the willingness to do what others aren't willing to do. A lot of people need to reprogram their mindsets. They need to understand what happens in the 24 hours. It depends on how you use your hours and it's been given to you. How you capitalize on every second, every minute, every hour of every day, 24 hours. I think everyone should start repeating that phrase, 24 hours, right? When you wake up, all you have is 24 hours to get things done within a day. Every second of your time has to be accounted for. If you start breaking down your time, you'll realize that life is shorter and you don't have the time as you think you do. Reprogramming your mind will ultimately help you realize I have to value my time, right? No one will feel sorry for you, and you just have to do the things that you have to do. Every day you wake up, time has to be accounted for. When I look at people, they say things to me, oh, that person is special. This person is special. It's not true. The people that you're seeing that's leveling up, they're making conscious decisions to level up. I genuinely believe that in most cases, failure is a choice, right? I genuinely believe that failure in most cases is a choice. Because if you look at the success, right, in the charts, it don't reflect the behaviors of the people that say they want to win. It's crazy when I'll give you a story. So last night, I'm in the store and I'm talking to a guy and he's asking me a question and I'm gonna go on record and say this. And this is my opinion. You can persecute me if you want to, but I really don't give a damn. Every weed head I know, right? Let's eliminate athletes. Let's eliminate entertainers. Let's eliminate influencers, and let's eliminate actors. Every person I know that abuse marijuana, that works jobs, they hinder their growth because they use too much money on the substance, never elevating because the substance is the money that they're spending on the substance is actually crippling their growth. I'm gonna be honest with you. So the guy asked me last night, do I know anybody that smokes weed every single day and own a home? I told him no. I said, all the guys I know that do, they might occasionally smoke here and there, but they don't understand that marijuana has become abused to the point where people don't see that it's stunting a lot of people's growth. They made it normal. Even if you drink alcohol, alcohol is supposed to be a luxury. So if you go out tonight and you decide to drink, that's okay. But it shouldn't be no everyday basis that you need to drink because it should be a luxury. And the same thing is if you are a marijuana smoker. The people that smoke excessively, in most cases, have a very codependent situation. They live in basements, they live in rooms, they live in someone's aiding situation. And a lot of the men that be like, well, I'm not in that situation. If you find out the woman that he has, a lot of times she carries that man to the magnitude that he's able to smoke or she's able to smoke because the man she's dating is carrying the bills. So someone foots the bill for them. Therefore, they think that they're in better positions than they actually are because someone is actually footing the bill. And when you tell them that, they get offended. I'm telling you, I genuinely believe that in most cases, the people that constantly abuse any substance will never be successful. But this particular guy, he kept telling me he believes the opposite. And I'm gonna tell you what's scary about talking to people that haven't hit no levels yet. They're basing what they think on the logic. And you could believe that you can be successful because before you can be, you have to think it. But here's the narrative. When you believe that you're already something you aren't, and your receipts don't reflect what you think you're gonna be, you're a level of diabolical on a whole nother spectrum. You're on a whole nother spectrum. I understand that you believe that this can be, But in reality, the receipts that you currently have don't represent you being able to afford the bill. But then you still believe that you're the anomaly or the exception to the rule. I think your mother and father must be biologically first cousins, because you gotta be crazy. This guy argued with me for a whole hour about how he's going to be the exception to the rule. And then this is what's scary. Watch this. When I asked him, I said, I got a question for you. How many people you know? He said, I know a lot of people. So I said, you know a lot of people? He says, yes. I said, name someone you know that abused marijuana, that owns a home. You know what he said? He don't know nobody, but he gonna be the first one. This is when you realize that you are in a culture of people who have an extreme level of narcissism, and they believe that they're exceptions to the rule. The rule was set, what goes up must come down, right? If I play in traffic, eventually I'm gonna get hit, right? The rules were set before I was born. And I had to learn how to navigate life in order to make the rules work in my favor. The problem is when you have undefiant people who trying to redefine the laws of life and gravity. That's reality. This is why I said, you are not gonna win thinking like this. And this is a 30-something-year-old man who believes that he is the exception. He cannot name one person he knows, but then you know what a lot of people do? They'll say something like, I know a doctor that smokes. And I'm like, bro, call him right now. Call him right now and show me that y'all friends. He don't know nobody by that nature. But it's creating a hypothetical to make you feel comfortable about what you're doing. It's delusion. And this is what we have become, very delusional. Our culture do not respect anyone who has created the workbook on how to be successful, because a lot of times, if it don't apply, we don't, even if it applies, we don't wanna do the hard work. If you create a system that says get rich overnight, I'm telling you, I go viral all the time. But if I tell you how to get rich in 10 years, people will not, right, navigate towards that guide.
Speak on, the other day you spoke on how other cultures, like when they work hard as a family, they all benefit, but our culture, we work hard, but the ones who benefit off of it don't continue to put the work in. Can you speak on that?
Yes. Do you believe, turn it back on 1 second, do you believe that a person could have a unit type of mentality? Unity.
Yeah, village.
A village mentality, right? Then do you believe that someone could also have an individual mentality?
Mm-hmm.
That's black culture at this point. We think heavy on individualism to the point where it stunts the success, because everyone knows that everyone that's winning in every culture, they have built a unit. They have built teams. So let's just say hypothetically we eliminate, we talk about Asian, we talk about Hispanics, we talk about Indians. A lot of times people get mad when you big up these cultures, but I wanna say I'm fascinated how they were able to unify. And they will justify, and the issue with our culture, a lot of times I'm gonna say this, is we live in the past. I talk to people every day who talk about slavery as if they were in it. It's scary when you talk to them. They talk about slavery as if they were in slavery themselves, and they picked cotton, and they were on singing slave hymns, and they ran away from master every day and had to find their way back. Listen, your parents your ancestors sacrificed so that you didn't have to go through that. In reality, we have the opportunities that actually make our ancestors feel disrespected, because a lot of us do not monetize on our ancestors' sacrifices. So the reality is what messed up with black culture is, being honest, we sold our grandparents' homes. If you're gonna have a real discussion, you gotta talk logical and say the reasoning to the nature of why black culture has taken a back seat economically. Every time you hear us talk about finance, we tend to always bring up other cultures. We say that Jewish people are very frugal, but yet and still we don't behave frugally and they have money. I don't even know if frugally is a word. It sounds good to me. But again, it's the nature of their character, the way they behave. The one thing a guy asked me the other day, what can we change? I said, I'm gonna tell you the truth. And this might offend a lot of people. The reality is, one thing, I used to work at a Jewish synagogue. A lot of people don't know that. I used to work at a Jewish synagogue for many years. And the one thing I realized is these kids, they were not pushed to be athletes. They were pushed to go to the synagogue after school to learn their culture, right? They learned their culture, they learned their religion, because culture and religion have to intertwine, right? Culture is a way of life, right? Religion is basically the person you speak to, who you answer to. So then you have the last piece that they also understood is economics, finance. But when you're sitting back waiting for, how many times have you heard black people say something like, oh, they didn't teach us? Your mother and father didn't teach you how to have sex, but you figured it out. Your mother and father did not teach you how to have sex, but you figured it out. So the reality is you can figure out what you want. And it sounds so simple, but it's really that simple. Life is a choice. I know people that know about real estate who did not grow up in a home. I know people who went to college whose mothers barely got a GED. I know people who decided to not be drug addicts when they come from drug addict parents. So what I'm getting at is if you remove the choice, you automatically give an excuse. What comes behind, once you take away choice, what comes behind it is an excuse. And every time you listen to the culture, we tend to navigate towards the excuse. The excuse is what hinders black culture. The white man, the man that we don't see, and most white people are broke. But we keep giving all white people this successful status that they don't have. I'm not gonna lie to you, if I was a broke white person and I would hear black people talk like that, I'd be walking around with my chest poked out. I'm in poverty, I'm living in a trailer park struggling, and you talking about all white people rich. You know how proud I'd be of myself? I'd be so proud of myself. So we was having a discussion and it was going back and forth and it got intense. And it always get intense because you know what I want to explain to you? And I want everybody on my live to understand this. America is a business. The first rule of business is, I want you to answer this, Tyler. What is the first rule of business? We understand that America, we're going to establish this, guys. Everybody on my live, is America a business?
Yes.
America's a business. Would you agree?
100%.
What is the first rule of business?
Business is not feelings, it's not emotional.
Say it again.
Business is not emotional.
Say it again.
Business is not emotional.
Say it again.
Business is not emotional.
So now if business is our country, in order to be successful in it, you have to learn business. By removing the emotion, you realize that it doesn't matter. America respects anyone that can continue to make them more money. So if your culture is not understanding that and looking for empathy from a business, when a business fire you, answer this, Tyler, when a business fire you, is it personal?
Not personal.
What is it?
It's best for the organization. Like, it's best for the company.
Next question, if a business realizes that your productivity has diminished and they let you go, is that personal?
It's not personal.
So if the business finds someone that can do a job better than you at a less cost, is it personal if I let you go?
Nope.
So why are we making it so personal when we establish and understand and identify that this country is a big business? And you were born into the business the day you were born with a social security number. Your social security number tracks everything you have. It's attached to you the day you're born to the day you die. It's an identification code. So if we understand it's business, why do we personalize the business? Because we're a very personable culture. We take everything personal. But when you can remove your emotions and get into your logic, you'll learn that this is the problem with the culture. Understand, listen, we established, let me ask you another question now, Tyler. Is marriage a business?
Yes.
So why the hell do we get mad at the fact that when a person leaves, they want to take something? That's why you should always date and marry someone that brings something to the damn table. That's your fault that you got engaged because you were in love. Listen, I love you, but I'd rather cry in the Benz than cry in the hoopty. Call it what it is. Listen, it feels good when we got steak and lobster on the table and we beefing a little bit, then we got peanut butter and jelly on the table. You agree with that? We got ramen noodles on the table and we beefing. I'd rather have steak and lobster on the table. That steak and lobster might make me get over it a little bit because I grew up on ramen noodles and I don't want to go back. See, when you understand the business, you understand that two people have to come into a relationship and benefit each other. Right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a trade-off with resources, but it can be a trade-off with time that your woman can be gifting you so that you're able to go out and procreate more money. and be able to receive more money. So if your woman is willing to take the nurturing aspect that works in your relationship, say you have children, so she stops working as much because it's cheaper for you to be with her rather than pay for what? Daycare. So if it makes sense, it makes sense. But a lot of us get so caught up in our feelings, we look at it like, nah, this is wrong. America shouldn't feel this way. Because again, you're making a business think personal. And that's what you gotta remove, right? If anything, you ever read one of those drug labels? And it tells you the whole thing about how many things is bad for you? And then you're mad when it told you that it may cause seizures? It tells you it. But if you take it, why are you mad at the fact that there's side effects? It says it clear as day, right? What is the problem? If you don't pay your loan at a bank, what happens?
Interest.
No, if you don't pay.
Oh, if you don't pay?
You default on the loan,
You
right?
default, yeah.
So if you default on a loan is gifted to a person that qualifies for it, right? So I'm gonna ask you a question. If a white man and a black man go into a bank and both of them qualify for $1 million loan, you think they're not gonna get the same loans?
They're going to get the same loans.
You know why they're gonna get the same loans?
Because they qualify for the loans.
And why is that? Because America's a
business. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And you know how you can validate what I'm saying right now? Watch this. Everybody on my live right now, let's be fair and honest. Back in the day, Spanish people only lived in certain environments, right? Now you go to some of the richer areas, who do you see there? Spanish people. Because you know why? They learned the business. They worked in the kitchens, then became the master chefs. They worked for the Italians and learned how to be handy in construction, and they built the companies. They run landscaping. And I admire this culture because of the fact that there is nothing too big for them. They think very, 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 very collective. Unity is what's elevated their culture financially. And once you go in that house, you knock on the door, you always have something called the abuela. Grandma is not going to no old folks home. The monarch is there. Our culture want to say, I got an 8-bedroom house, but you work 900 hours to pay for it a month, and then you're never home to enjoy it, and then there's no family structure in your home. The little boy had no one to teach him how to be a man. It's dope when you got multiple generations teaching a child. When you got a grandmother, a mother, and maybe a sister, or older sister, that is so dope that 3 people are holding that person accountable. This is why Spanish people have this sense of unity. One wife might have cooked this week, and it works. You know, the other day I went to the nail salon. And while I was at the nail salon, the owner of the nail salon pulled up in the van. When he pulled up in the van, all the people that work in the van, guess what they did? Right? Guess what they did? They commute in a car together to save gas. Right? You don't think that's smart? But everybody wants to ride it. Me and you going to the same location, Dre, we live in the same town, but yet instead we won't get in the same car to save money on gas. That's a culture. That's a mentality. So when you keep looking at the black man, white man, it's the mentality. Success has a mentality, and it leaves trails that only fools won't follow. It left a whole trail that only a fool won't follow. You see it, but you won't mirror it because you believe that you're the exception, narcissist. You think you special. But when you realize that no one is coming to save you, no one is coming to save you, you got to see what successful people are doing and do exactly what they're doing, and ultimately you'll get to a better level of success. But as I was talking to these guys, they screaming at the top of their lungs. So let's talk fair. And I want you to get live with me on this one, Talo. Right? If you go to a white institution, right, the CEO in most cases is white, right? Mm-hmm. So if the white CEO is hiring a president of his company, more than likely, what color would he be?
He's going to hire somebody white.
He's going to hire somebody white. Okay, let's go further. If I go to an Asian institution and the CEO of the institution is Asian, who is he more likely to hire as the president?
Their first option would be Asian.
Okay. If I go to an Indian institution and I meet an Indian CEO, who is more likely the president?
Indian.
Okay, let's keep going further. I go to a Spanish institution and the CEO is Spanish, who is more likely the vice president or the president?
A Spanish.
So now when I go to a black institution and the black CEO is black, who is more likely to be the president or
We're
CEO?
gonna hire our own black, yeah.
So why do black people get mad at the fact that white institutions want to employ their own first?
It's true.
I'm lost. How do we create wealth building? Is by creating infrastructures that employ our own and stop fighting. If you can go to a predominantly white institution and they allow you to come in there and get your resources and invest back in your communities, ultimately elevating your own. Every other culture do it. I know Mexican people here right now that I personally know who literally built castles back home. I know people from Jamaica who literally came here, got their resources, and built houses back home. I know people here who complain about not having enough, but yet and still these people who come to this country with less end up having so much more because they don't have a level of entitlement that a lot of people have. But if you say this, you're wrong. But a lot of people that are in America have a high level of entitlement to the point where, you can say, oh, they didn't go through slavery. I ain't go through slavery. My ancestors went through slavery. That's like you claiming jail because your father was there and you was never there. That's like you claiming a degree that your mother went and worked for that you don't have. You claiming the same situation and the trauma that they had and they endured right now when you have every opportunity, right? Last time I checked, you can go fill out for a FAFSA, you can go fill out all of that to a financial aid and all that to go get a degree. But you'd rather sit on a dead-end job and complain about your dead-end situation, but you don't realize your dead-end situation is going to stay dead-end until you put that car back in. Look, you had a dead-end. Look at this. You sitting at a dead-end, right? This is your dead-end life. You're sitting there and you're waiting for them to build a road. You had a dead-end waiting for them to build you a road. But yet and still, you won't put your car in reverse, back up, then put it in drive and go back the other way. You're waiting at a dead-end. You know how long it might take them to build another road to continue off that dead-end? It might take generations. And some people are generationally sick because they keep blaming other cultures for the behavior of our culture. And they don't like me because I'm holding us accountable. How do you create wealth? You build infrastructures. You build employment. You feed your culture. You stop letting your resources leave your culture within seconds. Black culture and money don't last in the culture because we don't have no infrastructures to keep it in. It's like pouring water into a pot that has a hole in it. That's how our money operates. You're pouring water into a pot that has a hole in it, and then you're wondering why the water keeps funneling out. That's how we operate with our resources. And then when a person is financially conscious, you could call what? Cheap. But the whole goal of your life is to create the next situation to be better than what the last situation was. So when a person says something like, oh my God, they had nepotism, they were born with parents that just set them up. Yeah, ain't that the goal? But when a white person get it, why we don't talk nothing about them? If a black man is born with parents or a black woman is born with parents that set them up, we talk crazy about them. But when a white kid gets the same privilege, no one talks anything about it. I'm gonna say that one more time, and I want y'all to hear that logically. When a white kid is born with nepotism, meaning let's say hypothetically his father's a lieutenant at the fire department, and he hires him right in, no one has nothing to say. But when a black person does it, then it's a problem. It's cool when they do it. It's a problem when we do it. Ain't that crazy? But any good parent will realize that nepotism is a positive thing. Why are you creating the same level of struggle and trauma that you had to go through? Why? Look at this analogy. Grandma, right, took a bath and she washed her body, right? And after she washed her body, she told the mother, go get in the same water. The mother got in the same water and washed. Then she tells the granddaughter, go take a bath in that same water. And it's all three generations have taken a bath in the same water. Then guess what happens? The fourth, which is the great-grand, she gets in the bath, she takes a bath in the same water. By the time you at your second or third generation, y'all don't even realize y'all bathing in dirty water. And all you're doing is doing what? You're washing that trauma back on you. All you're doing is washing what? All of that mental illness, all that illiteracy of finances, all of that bathing in that neighborhood is in one bad neighborhood. That's the analogy of the hood. That's the analogy of the hood. I'm gonna say this one more time. Grandma took a bath. And when grandma finished taking a bath, she left the same exact water and told the daughter to go get in the bath. The daughter went to go get in the bath. And the daughter washed. Then she told her daughter to go get in the bath. Her daughter went in that same exact water, washed in that water, and they told the great-grand, go take a bath. And all four of them bathed in the same water. And you want to hear the sad part is? The first generation had a level of cleanness that the other generations are suffering from because grandma never unplugged that water. And then the next generation is bathed in that same water. And then they think that something is dramatically going to change. That's our culture. How many people you know that brag about the hood? Living there, proud of it. That's a mentality. So when you realize that the things that we can change, when I go to my neighborhood where I lived at, when I see dirt and food wrappers on the floor and people not taking care of their elderly there, I say it's the community. I don't see the white man there. So when your grandmother's walking with her groceries across the street, I think it's the community that's not helping grandma cross the street. When your mother and your dad's on a bus and everybody on the bus with them and you cursing like a sailor and you don't care about the elders, I think that's you. That's you. Because if you look at it, my grandmother's generation would never curse in front of their elders. My mother's generation would never curse in front of their elders. My generation was semi-curse in front of their elders. This new generation, they will curse in front of it. That's the water analogy. It gets worse. It gets worse. And that's what people don't look at. It's a mentality, right? And when you try to explain this to our culture, we get offended. Logic says 1 + 1 = 2. And the mentality of our culture was creating us to fail. You cannot win with a loser's mentality. Understanding that by making an excuse, you ultimately take away the ability of change. If I kept onto all my excuses, the other day, you know, we were sitting there talking, there was a young guy there. He said to me, yeah, I can't relate to nothing I've been through. He's about 21 years old. I said, I got war wounds that are older than your whole life existence. I said, but in your mind, you're such a narcissist, you're making yourself believe that you're the only one that's been through anything. And the sad part is the people that make it out the hood, y'all act like they didn't make it with wounds. Y'all act like they didn't bathe in that same dirty water. Y'all act like these people realize that I'm gonna unclog the water and get up out of here. Cause I'm not gonna get clean. But what you do is you make these people the anomaly. And you make them the exception to the rule. Rather than saying this should be the rule. Success should be the rule. Struggle shouldn't be the mentality that we're procreating and teaching our children how to be. Struggle has become so normalized that people envy those who don't have a struggler's mentality. Once you have a progressive mentality, people don't like you. They hate you because you believe you can be more. When you settled for your 1-bedroom house and I wanted a 15-bedroom house, you got mad at my extra 14 bedrooms because you wanted a 1-bedroom house. That's a mentality. I don't know about people on this live or people listening to this podcast. I don't like getting called a crab. I don't like being called crabs in a barrel. I don't like that mentality. Because a crab is not even meant to be put in a barrel. So of course they're gonna pull for each other if you keep putting crabs in a barrel. Every day they're pulling for each other, yeah, because you put them in a barrel. You took it at its natural inhabitants. They feel like they want out. This is why you see the hood hurting each other. This is why you see the men bleeding on the women. This is why you see the women bleeding on the men. This is why you see a high volume of broken families. This is what comes from poverty. Poverty comes with a mentality. The sad part about poverty, you can go to any area in the world, any culture. Watch this, any culture. If I take you to India and I take you to the slums, you're gonna have the same mentality as you have anywhere else in poverty. You're gonna have high violence, would you agree? If I take you to India, Spain, anywhere, and take you to their hoods, you're not gonna have the same things going on? Same problems? Same, right? That's what we don't talk about. It's the mentality of the poverty that creates problems. Poverty equals aggression. Poverty equals frustration. Poverty equals anger. There's no color on poverty. Poverty is a mindset. Because there are people who live in bad situations who already have planned their escape. But it's the people that live in poverty who are comfortable living in poverty, so they dress it up to look like they're not in poverty. That's the problem. It's the people that's in poverty, who live in poverty, who dress up the poverty to look like they're not in poverty. They're the problem for the mentality that's in poverty. They're going to continue this mentality to continue to push forward. And this is our culture. This is what we have to accept. When I have people say that black men don't take care of their children, and I love the hell out of mine. I love the hell out of mine. I make sacrifices that my father never made. I decided to break generational curse. When I hear a man tell me that his father was bad and he's bad to his children, I have no absolute remorse or respect for him. Because once you know how something feels, for you to recreate that feeling for the next generation, you worse than your father. I'm gonna say that one more time. Once you come from a father that wasn't a good father to you or a good mother to you, and you procreate life and you do the same exact experience and trauma to your child, I call you the worst man that ever existed. I'm around people that I know that ain't grow up with fathers, but I know each and every one of them gonna hold themselves higher to a higher standard than their father held themselves. And we can give an excuse for it, but the reality is a choice. When you choose not to pick up that phone, you choose to pick up a phone and call a girl, but you don't choose to pick up that phone and call your goddamn child, you already know what your priorities are. That is diabolical. It's a choice. It's a choice. Because I'm gonna tell you something, the one thing I want y'all to understand, I don't come from a father. But the one thing I chose to do, I chose to put myself in something called parenting classes. I chose to put myself in called anger management classes. I chose to put myself in something called, what is the last one you think? Take a wild guess. I put myself in something called what? All my financial literacy and classes I put myself into. I chose to. The other day, me and a guy was talking, he said to me, I did a video, and I'm gonna address this. Because I'm gonna get a little witty right now. The dude said, I did a video that said, no grown man at this age should be risking his freedom for nothing that's gonna take him out of his spot to be able to provide for his family. He said, because I never had a fight. He said he's talking like that because he never had a fight. And I'm gonna keep it real with you. I fought so much in my whole life that I don't want my kids to fight no more. Every day I wake up as a black man, I'm fighting. I fought. So when he said this statement, he said to me, the reason why he said he won't fight, no real man will fight, is because of the fact that he has never fought. I fought so much that I don't want my children to ever have to fight the same fight I fought. Outside of just the physical, I fought mental illness, I fought depression, I fought anxiety, I fought stress, I fought generational karma, I fought generational curse, I fought every single fight. And the sad part is, I fought depression. And sometimes when you going through those same emotions, they jump you. They jump you and they jump you and they jump you and they jump you. So I've been through it. So when these people tell me what you're not, I'm like, no, what you don't understand is I'm a living testimony of survival. I can show you how my scars don't look like what I look like, because one thing I love about God, when he clean things up, he make it look better than where it started at. I just happen to look better than don't hate me because God made me look good. But sometimes that person, they said something the other day, that most people that hurt themselves, they never look like they want to do it. They look happy. They said that's a defense mechanism to hide how you genuinely feel. So sometimes when you see somebody overly happy, you need to check on them, because they might be fighting something that you don't know. And a lot of times we feel like we're in battles by ourselves. And this is the reality. So with the fact that I can come on a live on my podcast and be vulnerable is because I understand what my sisters have gone through. I understand what my brothers have gone through. I don't care if it's a white man or a black man. One of the guys got mad at me the other day because I said I don't see no difference between a black man and a white man, because the God I worship do not tell me to only love black people. And if I'm wrong for that, then so be it. But I know when I see my creator, he's going to respect the fact that I love my sisters and I do pray for my enemies. That's the ultimate power, being able to pray. The highest restitution that anyone could pay you back with is prayer. The highest restitution that anyone could pay you back with is prayer. So when someone is praying for me, that means they're giving me restitution for the duties in life that I've given, and the good things I've done, and the good things that I'm gonna do. So when people say, how can I reward you? I say, pray for me. Pray for my family. Pray that I get the wisdom in the years to continue to live, to try to keep striving, to push the culture forward. Because the true culture vultures are people that exploit our culture for the ignorance, but not the positivity. There's someone graduating with the valedictorian this year at a school, but we ain't gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the ones that got arrested. One thing about our culture, we exploit all the negatives, but we don't exploit the positivities. There's a person right now who decided to go to school, whether online or in person, and decided to get their first degree in their family. There's a person who's deciding to work when their mother was willing to always stay on Section 8 and welfare. There's a video of a young man going viral. He decided that he don't want to be on welfare. He said, Mom, I don't want this lifestyle that you have. I want my own home. The mother got upset with him because he was deciding to break generational curse. And some people are so conditioned, they can't realize or see that they're conditioned. My book is called The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. It's an art to reprogramming the mindset. And a lot of people don't want to change their mindset because it takes a lot of work. And when you're working on yourself, a lot of times you will second guess yourself because that is normality. It is normal to have moments of uncertainty. It is normal to have moments of doubt. It is normal to have moments of questioning yourself. Because I'm going to tell you something, when you sit there and you can have those honest conversations with yourself is when you come up with your greatest ideas. Every genius always looks crazy until the idea manifestates. Every genius always looks crazy until the idea becomes great. But sometimes we so caught up in our feelings, we can't see logic. Our culture has literally fought with each other when we're supposed to be working together. I see people who could live one town over from you and hate each other because they live in different area codes. Y'all both in poverty. It don't make no sense. Look what I just said to you. You're in a different zip code than me, but we have the same exact circumstance. I talk to people, I'm from New York. I talk to people in Florida. I talk to people in Philly. I talk to people in Spain. I talk to people in Nicaragua. I talk to people in Honduras. I talk to people all over the world. And when you realize that we're all in zip codes that are different, but we all still fighting the same battles. It's the battle of the good and evil. It's the battle of a lot of people not willing to work together. It's the battle of the insecurity bleeding on the insecure even more. And that's what we do. Someone calling right now, 516-253-1150. One more time, 516-253-1150. And this is what I want people to understand. Black culture will be the laughing stock until we learn how to create our own infrastructure. When every time them people keep saying stuff like my grandparents, the one thing you don't acknowledge, and I hate that they don't do this, when our grandparents was coming up, they had more black businesses. They had more infrastructures that they can employ their own. And then on top of it, they have more infrastructures where they can spend more money with each other to keep the money in the community. If I gotta go to a cleaner's every time and give my clothes to an Asian person, that is $1 that's leaving my culture. But if I can go get that same dollar and go to a black cleaner's and get the same, and when I want y'all to hear this. Just because it's a black business don't mean it gives me a good rapport with your work ethic. You can't be a black business owner and suck work ethic and expect me to take less because of the fact that we're the same color. That sounds crazy. I'm gonna say that one more time. You can't be a black business owner and expect me to walk into your business and have a lower treatment because of the fact that you're black. And I'm talking about my Jamaican restaurant cashier workers. Sucking your teeth and having an attitude all the time. I did not make you sign up for this job. right? Like that's a little crazy. I tell you, the meanest people that I ever meet is a lot of black people working at restaurants. They have an attitude like no other, like you did not make them go to that job. Why are you kissing your teeth because I asked for more oxtail gravy? But I have that. That's the culture. We gotta change how we treat each other. Because the same way you sit there, and I'm gonna show you the narcissist. That person that's behind that register, they probably didn't have it a bad day. But narcissism will make you lack empathy for others, ultimately only feeling what you're feeling, but not seeing that everyone we have the same problem. I could have walked in that Jamaican restaurant with the craziest attitude just like you. But it is not my job to take it out on you. And that's what we gotta learn. When I'm having a bad day, my job is not to take it out on somebody else that has nothing to do with my problem. And that's what I see a lot of people do. Whatever they're going through, they make it about what they're going through and no one else. We lack empathy. I look at some people and I'm like, damn, I can understand why this person feels the way they feel. If you're a good person, and let's just talk logical, let's say hypothetically you have a good job, and then you go to the job and you know the person that's working this job, you know they're underpaid and they overworked. So you should have empathy for that person. But in the same breath, the person that's underpaid and underworked should be trying to figure out how to get out of there and not take it out on people. The one thing I love about my mom as a kid, you know what she said to me? I don't care if you work at McDonald's or anything else as a kid. She said she always wanted me to work hard at it. And I said, why? She said, because you're building something called work ethic. She said, if you go to a job and you say, I'm not gonna be here long, and you don't take the job serious, you ultimately building a bad work ethic. It's like practicing. The way you practice is the way you play. And then every time I always work the job, I always took myself serious. Even though I'm self-employed, I'm always on time. And that's conditions I had from being employed. Because I tell people, if you're a bad employee, you're gonna be a horrible boss. If you're a bad employee, you're gonna be a horrible boss. If you're a horrible renter, you're gonna be a horrible landlord. And the reason being is because you're gonna carry that same conditioning to the next situation. It's like the person that thinks that all they gotta do is make more money, they'll have more money, and they're bad with a little bit of money they're already making. If you take a person that's bad with money, you give them more money, they're gonna mess up the money even more. And that's a harsh reality. There are a lot of people that believe that I can outwork my bad relationship with money. A lot of people have a bad relationship with money. What I mean by bad relationship, you cheat on your money. Because the first rule of not cheating on your money is paying yourself first. You got a situationship with your own money. You don't respect your money. You abuse your money. And therefore your money don't never take you serious. The first step to being faithful to your money is paying yourself first. But black culture, we got to get out of this mentality where we fighting this wrong fight and blaming every other culture for our behaviors. There's certain things that you know you can change. If everyone right now took a mirror and look at themselves in the mirror and say, I can change this. Somebody on my live, give me something right now that you know for a fact, and I'll go with y'all. Give me something that you can change about yourself. Something right now. Or you can call in too. Give me something that you can change about yourself. Let's go with you, Tyler. Say it on the mic.
Dragging my feet.
Dragging my feet. What do you mean by that?
Like, not lazy, but just really executing on like things in the schedule, or if there's things that need to be done, just doing it right away instead of waiting and prolonging, you know? So dragging my feet.
Sheena said attitude. Attitude is a reflection of how you feel about yourself, Sheena, just so you know that. I'm just telling you something. Anytime you see somebody that has a bad attitude, that's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. People treat people how they feel about themselves. So if you have a bad attitude, it's because that's how you feel about yourself. You might be disgruntled, you might be unhappy with yourself, so therefore you're projecting. When a person walks out happy every day, that means that person is happy. But when a person always have an attitude, that means that's how they feel about themselves. Someone said thank you because I get angry real quick. That means you need to start praying and working on yourself. And one thing I want to say this to you, I appreciate your vulnerability and being honest with yourself. Because the first rule to any recovery is admitting that we have a problem. And once you can admit that you have a problem, you can fix it. Right? I used to be very angry because that's how I felt inside, but I was projecting outside how I felt inside. And that's why it takes one to know one. Someone said second guessing myself, and I'm gonna be honest with you, that's a normal feeling when pursuing greatness. That is a normal feeling. That is a feeling you don't think, you can have an NBA player who's a 10-time All-Star, who's averaging 30 points, and he'll tell you that he still gets nervous before games. He still gets nervous before games. Because again, he don't want to underperform, and he know that they're coming for him every day. You just gotta understand, as you climb, more people start pulling for your feet. Just be mindful, the more you climb, the more people pull for your feet. And that's a reality that we have to acknowledge, that if you want to climb, people are not going to be happy in most cases because they're not happy with themselves. But in order for you to be happy with someone else, that's how you start projecting positivity. You can't be unhappy when somebody else is progressing, but you want them to be happy for when you're progressing. That's crazy. That's crazy. Damn. That sounds crazy. And that's what we got to get to, a space where we're honest with ourselves. We able to look at ourselves in the mirror, stop giving ourselves excuses. I watched some of the most ignorant excuses that I've ever heard in my life. Would you say right now there's a pay discrepancy between a white man and a black man? I would say yes. But also, the one thing that black people don't acknowledge, this pay discrepancy is from a white institution, right? Of course, a white man's gonna wanna pay his more to his people. I don't get mad at that no more, because it's logical. If you hired your brother, and I want you to hear this, Tyler, you hired your biological brother at the job, and you can choose payment, who's gonna get paid the most?
He's gonna get paid the most. Anybody in my family, they'll get paid the most over a regular person. That just is what it is.
And also, culturally, you're gonna wanna give a black man, if you had the opportunity to give a black man more money, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just more so subconsciously. We wouldn't even think about it. Like if we had a job interview and we're hiring people and you got a white girl and a black girl, subconsciously you just gonna, since we're black, we're gonna pick the black girl right away. That's just how it is.
100% facts. You know, it's scary when we always make everything about race. The other day I was talking to a guy, and I want y'all to hear this. He does real estate. I do real estate. We sitting back talking. He's a white guy. I'm a black guy. One thing I've learned how to do is have conversation without automatically triggering that the person is racist because of their experience. If a black girl worked at your job and she worked your register, she stole money. Then you hired another black girl that stole money. Then you hired another black girl that stole money. How are you gonna feel about hiring black girls to work at the register?
I'm not gonna want to hire them.
Why?
Because in my mind or whoever's mind, if a person goes through that a couple times, they're gonna think they steal.
So you say based on experience?
On experience,
you'll be conscious and cautious, right?
4 times, you're gonna think like that's just, come on now. Anybody would think 4 times they steal.
Now, watch this. So when I was talking to the guy, I said to him, "What is the number one?" He asked me, "What was the number one problem I have with dealing with renters?" And I said, if I say this, a lot of people are gonna get offended. He said, "Go ahead, say it." I said, "I feel like a lot of black people give me a hard time when it comes to paying. They're always late with the rent and they play games with the rent." So he was like, "Damn, that is my same exact experience." He said, "But if I say it, I'm automatically racist." I said, "You cannot say, and I will never say that all black people don't pay. That's when you're racist. But if he says his experience is that a lot of black people didn't pay him, that's his experience. Because vice versa, that's my experience. And the person can't take away my experience because it didn't align with what they feel. Whatever you experience, we could live in the same house, but we could experience 2 different experiences in that same house. And I cannot take away your experience because that's how you feel. And that's the issue in the culture."
I think more people will win if they stop walking around with the racism mindset, like everybody is racist. Because I know some people, they won't even go to certain events or job interviews because there's a certain culture or race in the room, and it's like, yo, you blocking yourself from opportunities that you might meet a best friend. You never know. That could be you could form a relationship that could change your life. But I just think a lot of people, they have to remove that out there mentality, like that. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of the culture is really caught on like color, like a lot white, black, this, that. Just everybody's humans. You could be more successful if you just think straight. Like,
would you feel offended if your loved one just passed away and I walk into the funeral with streetwear?
Yeah,
Why?
because that's just not like the attire for a funeral.
The reason why I'm saying that is because as a culture, we need to learn what something called code switching is. There's professional and there's non-professional. It's not about black or white. It's about being professional and non-professional. Certain settings attribute to you being more professional, and certain settings contribute to you being more who you are. When you're in your personal space and you're in professional time, you have to know the difference. So if you cannot change when you're in those spaces, then therefore you will fail. Because reality is the room is not gonna adjust to you. You gotta know where you're going. This room okay, you're in a room full of women talking about women's body parts. You look crazy. Read the room. Know where you at. And there's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, they're gonna say, oh my God, I hate when black people overly give white people so much flowers, because I travel. And when you travel, you realize that there are a lot of white people that's not that educated. But yet still they get these big old titles. And I'm like, that's crazy. If I was a white person that dropped out of 3rd grade, I'd be sitting there cheesing that y'all think I'm so intelligent. Oh my God, you think we're all intelligent? We're all smart. I know it depends on the circumstances and the position. I always say the one thing I don't like is a lot of times black people, they take a black person from a poverty area and they compare him to a white person who comes from a richer area. But you'll get the same kind of trajectory if you take a black man who comes from that same richy area and you compare him to a white man that comes from that same richy area. They have similar mentalities. But in most cases, black people tend to take the bottom of the barrel. I'm not saying bottom of the barrel, but a black person that comes from a poverty situation, and they compare him to a rich person, and then you see why you have bad results. That's reality. Is you're gonna always have problems when you're comparing something, apples to oranges. You're comparing apples to oranges. I've never seen an apple growing on an orange tree. So reality is you gotta compare an apple to an apple. If you planted the same seeds in the same environment, you'll get the same kind of results. But if you take that same apple seed and you put it in better soil, you get better results. So it's about the environment when you look at it. Look what I said, when you take a seed, I got 5 seeds. One is in bad, I got 3. One is in bad, one is in medium, and one is good. Which fruit would bear better? The apple that was put in the better soil. And that's the same way we have to look at logic. The whole goal is to get your children into these spaces, so therefore they could be the apple that's in the greater soil. There's a video, and I posted in my story the other day. There was a dandelion, and the dandelion was in a dirt pile, and there was nothing but dirt around him. So the dandelion had to cross a driveway to get to the other side where there was nothing but grass. But the dandelion realized how hot it was, and the dandelion started sweating. The dandelion crossed the driveway, and as it's crossing the driveway, it's about to pass away. And as it's about to pass away, it gets to that last moment, right? The last moment. And what it does, it shoots its seeds out, and the seeds land in the grass. The dandelion dies, but the seeds take root and they grow. So what I'm getting at is that dandelion was willing to sacrifice itself to the betterment for the next generation. But a lot of people aren't willing to sacrifice anything for the next generation. So the next generation will start further behind in the race than you actually started. When you have a mentality like that, you're already the problem. But if we can't change our mentality, then we can't change the trajectory of our results. We're fighting the wrong fight. I know people right now that get mad at the culture when they don't realize that they're the ones that's actually hurting the culture. You ever been somewhere? And I'm gonna be honest with you, there's something called black fatigue. And you're sitting in a room with a bunch of black people and they acting mad ignorant and they grown as hell. Sometimes even telling you don't front. Don't you be wanting to say, yo, shut up? Like, yo, be quiet.
100%.
And I'm just being fair. Like some of the things that we do at certain points, like, yo, you grown as hell, grow up.
But you know why though? Because other cultures, they see these moments and then they take that all black people are like that.
Yes.
And it's kind of embarrassing when you know you're not like that, and it's like that person is acting that kind of way around you, just like, yo, like they're gonna perceive that's all of us when it's not all of us.
And that's the one thing I don't like about it. When I looked at that video about what was that, the cruise line, what cruise was that again? Carnival? Carnival, to me, from what I've seen, it generalized black people to the point where I don't like it. because there are a lot of us that know how to act in public. There are a lot of us that came from mothers and fathers that'll slap you in public if you're acting up in public. So it depends on where you come from. The one thing I tell you, the ones that don't know how to act in public, they usually come from the parents that want to be their kids' friends. Because if your parents was parenting once, they ain't got to parent you twice. It's sad when you watch adults and they need somebody to parental guidance in public spaces. How you a grown-up needing parental guidance in a public space? That don't make no sense. Because again, we sit back every day and we cry about our culture, but we don't realize that no one is coming to save us. Ain't nobody gonna fix us. Keep sitting there waiting for the school system to teach you finances. It's not gonna happen. Because you can come in the house right now and your parents can teach you. But again, we're gonna sit there and blame everything other than looking at ourselves in the mirror. They say when you point a finger, 3 is being pointed back at yourself. So let's start pointing the finger at ourselves and realize that in order to fix the culture, we have to identify what is wrong with the culture and we can start working on ourselves. But sitting back every day waiting for someone to throw you a lifeline when you've had the lifeline in your brain the whole time, your mind is the lifeline. Your thoughts are the lifeline. What you're willing to do is the lifeline. Because if you, right now, you see, rather than go to the club, how many friends will say, yo, let's meet up in the library? How many friends will say, yo, you know what, let's start a book club together and let's read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Let's start a book club. I'm daring everybody on my live, get 3 to 5 friends right now to start a book club and everybody read a chapter a night, right? Let's do that, right? But listen, let's get the book, the Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. How many people willing to start a club like that, Dre? And say, you know what, let's pull up 2 or 3 of my friends. We're going to order a book every month or every other month, and we're going to read a book together. And every other night, I read a chapter. And then what you do? Rather than getting on the phone and gossiping about who had more rushing yards last night, man, and ladies were gossiping about, right? The book is on every platform. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, everywhere. It's called The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. That's my book. It's everywhere. Walmart. You can get on Walmart everywhere. The Art of Reprogramming the Mindset. Right? But again, who's willing to create a book group like that? Right? Because I'm with it. If y'all with it, I'm with it. If y'all want to start a book club, I'm with it. DM me when we get off this live. I want to get a book club. We could start a book club. We could jump on a Zoom and we could have a conversation. But again, the issue with our culture is the fact that we can spend resources on things that won't advance us, then more than likely to spend money on things that will advance us. And then we're going to sit back and wait for the Savior. There was a parable. There was a man, right? And it was about the flood. They came to him and said, yo, get in the car. We got to go because it's about to be a big flood. He said, nah, God going to save me. They left him. Then the water came up to the second floor of the house. You know what he did? He sat in the window of the house. A boat came. They said, get in the boat, we're going to save you. You know what he said? I'm good, God got me. They left. The third time, the water went up higher. He's on the roof of the house. And when he's on the roof of the house, they came with a helicopter. And they said, get in the helicopter, we're going to save you. You know what he said? Nah, God got me. He ultimately drowned and died, sitting there waiting for something to save him looking the way he wanted to look. A lot of people can't be saved because they want the saving to look the way they want it to look. And it won't. It's gonna be that person in your family that decides I don't wanna do this no more. It's gonna be that black sheep that people hate. The one that say, yo, let's stop talking about people. We spending way too much energy on worrying about others. Let's start worrying about ourselves. It's gonna take those individuals who say, yo, let me get up off my behind. Let me do something about the problem rather than keep complaining about the problem. Let me figure out what's wrong with me. Let me stop lying to myself. Let me build myself up. Those are the people who are gonna change the ultimate process and the position that they are today. If you're not willing to change yourself and you're not willing to do anything else, stop crying about your results. Because I'm gonna tell you something. I don't wanna know somebody crying about their weight and they're in the fast food line waiting for food. You sound crazy. I don't wanna hear nobody whining about their grades and they won't pick up a book and study. I don't want to hear somebody talk about how bad relationships are when you realize that that person a lot of times is toxic when they talk about how the dating world is. There are a lot of people that are toxic that complain about people in the dating world. There are people that want someone to give them their everything and they're not willing to give anything. That's toxic as hell. The family curse breakers. The people that have said that decide to say enough is enough. Till next time, guys. Don't let that go over your head.